Thanks for making your way through the snow for the last day of NRF. Woo! So hopefully it'll be a good last day for everyone. It's been amazing having a lot of conversations and amazing seeing a lot of people that I feel like NRF just brings people together, like all of us. So anyway, I'm Melissa. I'm one of the co-founders and I'm the CEO of Zipline. And my background is actually over 10 years, specifically focused in store communications and executions before Zipline. So what does Zipline do? We really focus on how do you keep everything and everyone on track. And I think in retail, it's so hard to do because you have changing planograms, merchandise changes, like different rules and regulations. I think COVID really put us all through the test. And really what we do is we, reduce the disconnect between what's happening in the head office, down to the store, through the district manager, through IT. We really help the business operate with ease. So how do we do that? We create this one-stop shop that is a combination of communications and tasks and resources. We have an AI bot or an AI, generative AI offering that also helps store team associates understand what they need to do every day and be able to translate kind of like your policies and procedures in a digestible way. We work with over 100 of the best retail brands in the world. I have 3 of them here today. I think one of the things that's been awesome for us in working with these brands is despite the wide variety of brands, right, from beverage or like 7-Eleven down to like Warby Parker, all of these brands, like we share a lot of similar challenges despite the different offerings of the brands and the different cultures and the different ways that we work. So today I'm excited to bring on 3 of some of our favorite brands. So, to share some of their learnings and how they operate. So I have Eric Wardian from Pacsun.
Yeah. I'm Eric Wardian. I'm the Senior Manager of Store Communications for Pacsun stores.
Abbey from TravisMathew.
Hi, I'm the Senior Manager of Retail Operations and Training for TravisMathew. We're Southern California men's and women's lifestyle apparel brand and kind of rooted in golf. Most people know us from that.
My name is Eric Buff. I work for Visionworks. I'm a retail operations manager. Visionworks has about 800 plus locations, and our mission is to simplify eye care.
Cool. All right. So to kick us off, we usually do an ice warmer. So I'm gonna, in addition to no one here living in the snow, so like have grace with us. I'm curious, like, what is one of your favorite parts about your job or your brand? So Eric W., start with you.
First of all, thank you for inviting us out of our warm climates through the snow. We don't get to see it very often. But my favorite part about my job and our brand is really that we're just always changing. We carry so many licensee brands and we curate our own brand. It's just so much fun to have a brand that's kind of constantly evolving, constantly changing, and to get to be a part of that is truly fun.
I would say the favorite part, or my favorite part about working for TravisMathew is I've been lucky to have worked for the brand since store one. I was the first store manager for TravisMathew, so I've been a part of the evolution and everything that we've implemented for the field. And I always kind of keep the field at the forefront and being an advocate for them. So everything that my team builds and creates is really with them in mind. So I'm really grateful that I have that perspective.
Awesome.
Yeah, and being in vision care, I would say mine is probably just helping people see every day and really making a difference in their lives.
That's amazing. So I think all of your brands are very different, have very strong strengths. And I'm curious, when we think about retail operations and when it goes down to enabling the stores to be successful, it's usually guided by some sort of principle and philosophy. And so I am curious, I guess, starting, Eric from Visionworks, I am curious, what is your philosophy when it comes to retail operations?
So two-parter. I would say that the first is to keep things simple, and the second is to keep things transparent. So when I say simple, I mean, focusing on the basics, in stock, customer experience, marketing, getting people in the door, getting people what they want when they need it, and have an amazing patient experience. And if I were going to make that not simple, I would make that into an acronym, which would be something to the effect of like GTWTN, TWTN, AAPE. But don't do that because
that's a good one. I'm sure that exists.
Yeah, and the reason transparency is so important, and I think transparency is the key to retail innovation. When you make things in processes, in initiatives, communication, and you make those things transparent, amazing things start to happen. You can start to validate the things that you're sending out to your stores. You can solve any issues that you might be able to now see because of that transparency. You can build, you can grow, and all of that equals better performance. And just to think of like some examples, I'd rolled out a document governance at Visionworks at one point, and it shined a light on a lot of things that we could now go solve. So I encourage everybody when they're looking at third-party vendors to partner with, is transparency and data some part of that brand and of that third party, because that's become super beneficial.
I love that. Eric, how about a Pacsun?
So I would say like our philosophy is always changing. We're trying to remain adaptable. Like when I think about what we are having stores do like over the past like 5 years, I think the overall tasks and operational things that they're doing are not changing that much. However, the methods by which we're able to get those things done are changing, right? New POS, new IT systems, new HR systems, et cetera. So I think for us, like it's the way that we execute and communicate that, continues to change and evolve. And so I think our overall philosophy is to remain adaptable in everything. And that extends to even, in my world, the communications platform that we're using and the way in which we're able to communicate and roll out all of those technological changes, right? Like you wouldn't expect a store to be able to, manage their inventory on an Excel spreadsheet. You wouldn't expect stores to do their clock in, clock out still with manual punch cards, right? But we also don't expect stores anymore to be reading their paper documents to get that communication on how to do it. So for us, it's all about adaptability and accountability in everything that we do.
That makes sense. I think especially thinking about your store audience, right? Like super consumerized, they're always on the go. You have a younger store associate than most, right?
And a lot of our management, it's their first job. It's
Yeah.
their first real salaried job. And so like in our world, I know that Eric over here, they've got a lot of doctors and a lot of really seasoned people, but my world is it's their first big job. And so we have to make sure that we're setting them up for success, not just to run those other systems, but to receive that information and meet them where they're at, right? Like all young people today are on their phones. I can't be sending them paper documents to be pulling out and flipping through a binder. I've got to be meeting them on their mobile device. I got to be meeting them on a laptop and have all of that digital content in a way that they're used to seeing everything else that they're receiving.
Totally. Abby, how about you?
Our philosophy, like my team, we talk about this all the time, is like our job is to be in service to the field, and all of us have come from the field at one point or another in our careers, and so it's really important for us to remember that we are the backbone for the field, and that all the tools, the resources, the information, and the communication that comes down to them is ultimately there to make their jobs easier. So it's really important for us to have that kind of mindset and make sure that we really remember that we owe the field very clear communication, clear directives, and consistency in our messaging and how we do things so that ultimately they get what they need and they get back to the sales floor, which is what they're there to do.
I love hearing the prioritization of ease, right? And meeting people where they're at across the board. I think one of the things that isn't as easy, though, is really striking the balance between like how do you maintain a sense of culture, right, and build this culture that's like unique and authentic in your stores, but also maintain that brand consistency. So, Abby, I'd actually love to hear from you first.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of pieces to the pie when it comes to creating culture and brand consistency, and I think a lot of people have a role in that within the organization. So it's not just up to the corporate office to build that. I feel like it starts from really solid leadership and really effective leadership. Clear communication is really important to build this sense of culture. Empowerment, soliciting feedback often, and then implementing that feedback. I think that brings a lot of buy-in to the field on the things that we're kind of asking of them, and builds a lot of credibility with us and kind of strengthens that relationship. But feedback has been really important to us, and this engagement in making, even down to the part-time level, someone feel like they are a part of this brand. And one of the ways that we like to do that is making sure this teams feel connected to each other as we grow, because we're at around 50 stores now. And so I remember in the early days, we started with a photo sharing app where everyone would post their like big sales or like cool events that were going on in the store or like birthday celebrations or things that were happening in the field. And so we like to use the groups in Zipline now for that because that's where they've kind of morphed from that app into this, and they're celebrating each other's successes, they're recognizing people, and it's just like a really fun cultural social media feed for them to engage with each other, share best practices, and just stay connected.
That's amazing. I feel like there's so much passion that originates from stores, and being able to harness that and have people really feel and live the brand is so powerful. So Eric, talking about like brand and like aspiration and being able to help people see, I am curious to hear from you. How does Visionworks think about that?
Yeah, so we have a cool culture. Our core values are be simple, be human, be bold. And we have a really positive culture. Everybody in our teams are really engaged. And I'm very fortunate to have a great creative communications team that helps bring ideas to life. And one of the things that I hear a lot are from other retailers are when we implement a new platform, how do we adopt and engage people to use that platform? So what me and my team did is we came up with an internal mascot, and his name is Zippy. I've got a picture of him right here. See, and he's got a backstory. Yeah,
the fangs too.
Yeah. He's got a backstory because ChatGPT told me when we were creating him that all mascots should have a backstory. So his backstory is that he comes from the land of optical. He went to the school of spectacles. You guys get the idea. There's more, but I'm not going to go into it. You get the gist. And this internal mascot took off. We used it to help drive the adoption of the platform of Zipline. And it's become, essentially, he's like another associate in all of our 800 stores. People love him. People take pictures of him on vacation. They put him around the stores. I've got associates that are into crochet, and they'll crochet him. They'll make them into cupcakes. This past Halloween, we had people make Zippy costumes and Zippy pumpkins. So it was really cool. People, we're starting to put him on clothing. The amount of engagement that he's brought to our teams has been incredible. And it's quantifiable engagement. We can quantify the engagement. We can quantify the knowledge, because he's a knowledge monster. And that all results in better performance. The ROI on creating something like this, and shout out to my comms team, Josh, Nicole, and Tracy, who helped bring these things to life. There's not a lot of ROI in creating something like that. And Zipline is a platform that we can customize to our brand and bring it over to that platform. And that's been hugely beneficial. So the platform works with our culture. And in addition to, the Zipline organization is an example of, one of the many people that we partner with. And when we partner with someone, we try and find that their culture mixes with ours. And that's super important because when you're looking at creating solutions to problems, whether you meet, once a week, once a month, once a year, when you're looking at creating solutions to problem, that collaboration is key, and the solution finding is very much understood when those cultures mesh well.
Yeah, I think aligned values too. I mean, I think it makes a difference. Like we really aspire to understand like your strategies and your values and your cultures as well, because I think there's something very special in a retail environment and bringing those to life and how we help enable that. For us, we want technology to empower you, right, and enable you. We don't want it to look and feel like us. We want it to look and feel like you.
I think one of the really nice things, if I could just say, is that like of the people that it's nice to work with vendors that have the retail experience and that point of view, because that it just builds, again, more credibility, and you're making solutions for the people that are using them, and you have that understanding of what is needed intuitively. I think that's so valuable when looking for a vendor to use.
Yeah, I can't say enough how big of a difference that is. Like from a third-party vendor, I think if you're out there in the retail field, we all have a lot of third-party vendors, and Zipline is by far my favorite, and they're not paying me to say that. But I genuinely look forward to it, to all of our interactions with them. But I think the biggest thing is that I don't have to over-explain my use case to Zipline when I'm explaining like a pain point that I'm having. I think, because of the breadth of brands that you guys work with and everyone's experience, when I'm talking to my account manager about a feature pain point, and there are a few, I don't want to make it sound like there's a lot, but when I do, it's heard and it's implemented, it's fixed to a certain extent if it can, or there's an answer already existing in the platform that maybe I just haven't discovered yet. So I think that, on our end, still kind of to piggyback off of what my friends here are talking about, at the Pacsun side, I think, we recognize that there is a need like for successful teams to have like those outlets of like creativity. It is a delicate balance between the fun stuff and the need to know stuff. And I think that, our approach has always been to sort of prioritize those HQ communications. And Zipline does a great job at giving us a few different avenues for having the fun stuff, right? Like we will always have a cork board in the stock room, right? For that store specific, like get your team excited about XYZ. But I think, having the ability, we have 311 stores. I know you have about 800. So we've got a really good cross section here. How do you keep the energy and keep people feeling a part of the brand in a digital age when, back when I ran stores, years and years ago, it was all we had was a cork board, and it was, stuff that was sent by corporate. And, maybe you really wanted that shout out. You wanted to have your poster. You wanted to have your name, your store on that board. Now, we've got, group chat type features with groups where we can have regions and districts interact. We've got, internal social media feeds where people can really collaborate and highlight fun, successful things. We recently had a big event in F1 Austin, and we were able to post, in our social feed and really show off what we were doing as a brand to make people feel connected. So this isn't just an F1 capsule that we've sent to your store to sell. This was part of a broader, more exciting venture where we were trackside and we were able to show videos and photos to everyone in the company, not just the people that got to be there. And it was dynamic videos, photos, not just a static piece of paper that people had to read. They could interact and they could comment and like and all that stuff, which is, again, speaking to meeting our people where they are. They want social media. They want all that fun stuff.
I think there's just like so much more potential to be able to incite and inspire and enroll teams in a more dynamic way, in a way that like really engages people. And then you can like have a sense, like, is this working? Is this not? To the feedback loop point, right? How do I iterate and grow and evolve based off of that? And really kind of shorten the divide between what we think in headquarters is working and what's actually working on the floor, right? So talking about shortening the divide, Eric, curious about, how do you have technology help you achieve your goals?
Yeah, I mean, our business model is pretty complex. We have a lot of different modalities. It's a complex retail landscape. Our organization is at the center of health and retail, and we use technology to help simplify and maintain transparency for our doctors, associates, and store leaders. The right technology can significantly enhance our operational efficiency and service quality. There's a quick story. I used to work for an organization, and I was sitting in a room with the executive team, and we were trying to decide if we would roll out a task management communication platform. And we decided not to. And the reason why is because we were looking at our 3-5-year plan, and there were a lot of things that we wanted to do. A lot of things that were going to bring in revenue, a lot of things that were going to save us time and money. We decided not to do that. Fast forward to working at Visionworks, and we used a different strategy. And I had an epiphany, or an Eric-iphany, which is, I guess, an epiphany, but something that I would have because my name is Eric. And Eric, if you want to borrow that, feel free.
Copyright. All right.
Yeah, I'm not copywriting that one. Zippy's copyrighted, but not that one. The epiphany I had was that the communication task management platform shouldn't be viewed as the change, but as the catalyst for change. And we used Zipline to roll out a POS system and refresh all our stores, all our 800 stores, with a new merchandising strategy. And it went seamlessly. And if I could go back in time to that other organization, I think I would strongly recommend that we go with that other platform to help us do all of those things that we wanted to do, some of which stuck and some of which did not.
I love that. I mean, I think your business is very complex with all of the rules and regulations, and it's an honor to be able to help you guys do things and execute well in stores.
It's so true what you were saying though about sitting in a room and talking about rolling out like a new HR system. And I always sort of giggle at some of those things because it's like, what's the actual ROI on rolling out a new HR system compared to actually having a good communications platform where you can ensure that HR system is rolled out properly, right? Same thing with like POS. Like we're very quick to sign up and prioritize certain things that help certain corporate members. And I've often been in those situations where, the operations and comms, they just go, oh no, those guys can take care of it. They'll handle it. And it's like, those teams need a supportive tool as well in order to make those visions successful. Visionworks successful there. But on our end, if I can kind of jump in too, is that, we're leveraging technology. We're blessed with a CEO and an executive team that really lean into new tech in really innovative ways. I mean, we really early partnered with brands like Roblox to create a virtual world. When that was sort of up and coming, we were one of the first to accept Bitcoin on our website. We are leaning really heavy into like TikTok Shop in different ways, and I think that all of that stuff. Our store communications is really no different in that world. We're leaning into the idea that technology actually helps us do all of those things and not just communicate it well, but ties it all together. I said before, we have a really young management population. We have to meet them where they are. You can't give them the latest technology and everything else in their job except the one thing that seems to be the most important, which is how do you start and end your day? How do you know all the things that have to get done to support those systems? And so we've been really excited for some new types of features that are things that just never existed before. And I know very early on with our journey with Zipline, we highlighted a need where we needed a photo task approval flow. And I remember when we were in our contract talks and we were like, hey, we're on board, but there's this one thing that we can't find anywhere. And we just launched this last month. And we started rolling it out, and we got tons of rejections from our district managers on this photo task approval, where we said take a photo of a presentation, and it would mark the task complete, kind of for the store, but it would send it to a district manager to actually have eyes on it. And I think for anybody in the room or watching, if you're ever collecting photos, I think the biggest challenge is always, what's the follow-up on that? We can ask store teams to take 1 million photos a day. We can set a brand new floor set, and maybe it looks great. But maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's some feedback that needs to happen. And so being able to leverage technology to support all of those other functions and teams, whether it's legal or visual, now we're going to be able to prove that ROI in a really unique way. So we're going from is it completed to is it completed correctly? And we're looking at all those rejections through kind of two lenses. One, it's eye-opening for us. It sort of reminds us of those days when we first transitioned from our paper communications to a digital platform, where we finally had some metrics to go, whoa, people are not reading what we're sending. We thought they were. It seems like it's common knowledge out there, like read the packet that comes, but they weren't. And we then had data, so then we were able to fix that problem. Well, now we're seeing, hey, we've been collecting all these photos now for 2 years. And no one's been following up, and now we're seeing all these rejections with feedback, and it's like I can't wait to look at our hard launches from 2022 and 2023, the sales and the implementation, versus where are we going to be at for 2024 when we have a full year of being able to provide our teams feedback in real time. It's unrealistic for field leaders, district managers to be able to visit every single store every single week, right? In a lot of brands. I mean, some of our stores have 15, 20 stores. So having some sort of technology where not only are they saying, yep, everything's done, but it's actually done correctly has been huge for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think, that's what we all aspire to, is like enabling and showing our teams, like, what does good look like, right? And then are you doing what good looks like? And if not, how do we coach you to success? But at scale, it's really hard, right? So like, how do you leverage the upper field leaders to help aggregate and also like manage their stores in a more meaningful way and look at things from a more exception-based piece?
And it's giving them, our field leaders, an extra tool that they didn't have before. Because of course the photos have always been there, but it's that reminder of like, oh, hey, I should look at that hard launch. I need to look at that floor set. But also we're able to keep it all within one platform in a nice, clean little package where, the feedback is all right there. It stays front of mind for our store teams, but it also is a reminder for our field leadership to take a look at those things in a way that we haven't had the way to do it before.
So talking about, we're here at NRF, we're talking a lot about, AI and like the potential. And I think a lot's happened, especially for stores and store operations post-COVID, right? And through COVID, there's been a lot of advancements. There's a lot of possibility. So Eric B., what do you see happening in the future? I just had to put that in there.
We're doing tons now.
What do you see for store tech when it comes to the future?
Well, my vision is that, I think, walking around NRF, there's a lot of cool technology out there, and it really gets you excited. Like, we're all retail nerds in this room. I know that I am, and it's just exciting to see. Short term, I would love to see, I think we depend on our field, our store managers, our field leaders, even our corporate departments, to do a lot of analysis. And it would be great to see AI take that analysis, do that, and let our field teams just focus on execution. And I think that, that's what I'd like to see short term. We're testing, with Zipline, we're testing an AI bot, which is really cool. Playing with that and seeing what the capabilities are, really gets you excited and starts getting you thinking about all of the applications for this technology. And it's here, it's just figuring out the best way to use it. And I see it being an integral part of our future retail strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like one of the things that we see for Zippy, and thanks for participating in our beta, but there's so much potential with AI to, one, reach people where they're at and have conversations in a way they understand. I think that's always a communicator's dilemma, right? I can send something out, but do people really understand it? Because people learn in different ways, maybe visually, maybe written, right? Maybe video. So how can we surface up information so that where they really understand it and don't ask their damn for questions? And then how do you take all of the data on what's working, what's not, your brand KPIs, and surface and ultimately nudge them to success and coach them in a more meaningful way? Because ultimately, we all want our stores to have the best store manager. And that's not always possible in some areas, right? So how do we give people the business acumen and the resources and the access to information to really enable them to succeed?
Yeah, and ultimately it makes us more, it'll make us more agile.
100%.
Being able to analyze consumer trends, all retailers will benefit from this just because it'll make us, adapt way faster than we ever imagined we could.
Totally.
I mean, AI absolutely is the buzzword, right? I mean, if those emails that we were all getting in the months prior to NRF or anything, it's AI, AI, AI. But I think what we're most excited about is the practical use for that. And that's where I'm really excited. We've also been piloting the Zippy AI here with Zipline. And it's been so cool to see how our internal policies and procedures being loaded into this AI have really turned into our like super smart employee, right? Like we all know that we've got these big packs of a POS manual, an HR manual. You've got all these policies and procedures, and no matter how good you think you are at onboarding new associates, it is unrealistic to expect a new manager, I don't care how much experience they've had, to be well-versed in your brand after going through all of that. And so it's just been so cool to see how, being able to ask a very simple question, like my registers are down, they're showing a red status bar, what do I do? And I know that that's hiding somewhere in a POS manual. And for us to be able to type that question in to Zippy and get the right answer for how am I supposed to react, right? Like who do I need to contact? What do I need to do? All of that. It's been wild to see because for anyone that runs comms, I mean, most of us have like an email box where, stores or teams can just kind of drop their miscellaneous questions. We're no different. What we've been doing is taking every one of those questions that comes through our inbox and we just copy paste it into Zippy to see what the response is. It's our sense test, but it's also been speeding up our ability to respond to those emails. So I cannot wait to start rolling that out to our store teams as soon as we feel like it's totally ready. Because I think it's going to save not just us the time, but it's going to save them time. They're not going to have to wait for a response from me to get the time to see their email and respond to it. But also it's going to give them the confidence that what they have or that the answer that they got is right. And one thing that I think that Zipline's gotten really right with this Zippy setup is that it doesn't just give you the answer, but it gives you, it cites where it found it. So, in that sentence, it'll cite it and say, I found it in this document. So if you need more context beyond just the answer, of course you can dig into that document. You can find it on page 50. But if you are just looking for what was the answer, okay, when do I take the bank deposit? Is it morning or night? The answer comes back, it was morning. It cited that it found that in the banking policy. I now, as a new manager, know I take it, at that time, not on the opposite. So I think that's what I'm most excited about, is being able to get to a place where we can empower teams to say, hey, when you have a question, first, ask the AI. Second, talk to your DM, then email corporate.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely empowering teams to deliver to what good looks like in less time. It's a dream, right? So last question, and Abbey, I'll start with you, right? So we talk a lot about execution, getting stores to do what we're asking them to do, and culture. What advice would you have for a retailer that's just embarking on that journey?
Oh my gosh, if I could go back in time and redo a few things, I definitely would take the opportunity. I would say if there's a solution that you're really interested in and bought into and like on the fence about, don't hesitate to make the jump and implement it. I would say what made our rollout with Zipline really successful was once we made the decision to do it, we set up the pilot and then we picked the date to go full launch. And we made it, and we made the stores have to go to this place. We basically cut them out of everything else. We ripped the Band-Aid and we said, okay, if you want to find that policy and procedure, it's not in SharePoint anymore. You have to go here to find it. And sometimes I see people in rollouts that we've done in the past kind of do a slow rollout where it takes time and they gradually try and bring people over. And I've seen that fail where it's like, if you don't make the thing matter, then it's not going to matter. You have to put the importance in it, and you have to build this as the one place of truth or whatever the thing is. So minimizing the overlap and really it sounds harsh, but cutting them out of any other way that they were going to go and do that manually to force the behavior in. And then once they get into the habit and making sure that the platform had some of the things that they were going externally for, like for example, sales reporting, we found a way to customize the platform and kind of make a dashboard at the forefront so that, that's what they care about. They want to know where they're at for the day. So putting that in there kind of forces the behavior, and then it becomes habit. So that's my best advice is just, and don't wait to do it. I wish we had done it, at store 10 when I was first drafting, the comms in a Word document and then exporting it to PDF and sending it out once a week with we would link stuff, but it would be okay, they had to be in the email, but they would be printing it out. So I wish we could go back and put this in sooner, because also, just building behaviors and having to undo some bad habits, that gets harder the bigger that you are. So I can't imagine what it was like for someone at the size that you are at to have to do that. I mean, I'm sure it was successful, but it's just, if you could, save yourself that grief, I would do it a lot sooner.
That was a really good answer.
Thank you.
Mel, you started with the puns, and now I feel like I cannot resist. So
I cannot
I'm
wait.
going to answer with some puns. I think that it is important to have a lot of focus and clarity on the things that you're doing. And again, I'm sorry for the puns. I don't want to make a spectacle of myself. No, sorry, that was corny.
Oh my.
Yeah. All right, it wasn't my idea. I was framed. All right, I promise
amazing.
I'm done. I promise. But the other advice I would give is that I think it's super important to listen. Listen to your customers, your patients, listen to what the data is telling you, and listen to your associates. And I think if you do that, I think that the operations come relatively smooth, because if you listen to all of those things, what those things are telling you, that's the answer to the puzzle.
Eric, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any fun puns, unfortunately,
that was
so
pretty-
it's hard to
that's hard to
follow
beat. You saw
Mr.
that
Buff
here.
after that. I think, you know, if you're looking to improve, there's a chaos cost that is associated with what you're currently doing that's holding you back. And I think this is one of those exercises that we sort of went through when we were doing our vendor selection. I mean, there is a chaos cost to the retention, to giving people confidence, to accuracy, accountability out there in stores. I mean, you can't hold somebody accountable for a piece of paper that only exists in a store location that gets filed in a binder. I think culture, you know, like back at the HQ, it's equally as chaotic to be the HQ person that feels like you are the one person in the org that doesn't seem to have a system to support what you need to do, but you're being held to the standard and accountability for everyone else's. And I also think like a lack of agility, right? Like utilizing technology in other ways is because it's agile, right? There's a reason why we don't have POS systems that we're handwriting anymore. There's a reason why we don't use punch cards to clock in and out, right? We need to be agile. We need to be able to do things quickly and make changes. And I think like, you know, there's the obvious sort of cost savings, you know, when you're thinking about paper, which was one of the exercises that we went through to justify a change at our level, was we are spending way more than the cost of a license per store on paper alone. Let me get rid of the paper and I can find the budget there. But you know, similar to what you were talking about, like what works for 20 stores starts to crack at 50 and is completely a mess by the time you hit 100. And so just imagine if you are holding on to 800 stores in a you know, communications process and operations process that's just not utilizing technology, you know, constantly having to tweak your stuff. So I think the chaos cost cannot be underestimated. So you know, you owe it to your teams to give them the tools that they need to do your job right. So if I had one piece of advice, I guess it would be, yeah, like do the math on that chaos cost. I promise you'll find the budget real fast.
I love that. Chaos cost. Love that.
That's copyright.
All right. So I'd like to open it up. If people have questions, feel free to stand up and ask questions. Also, these guys will be at the Zipline booth too. If you have questions that you don't want to share on the crowd, so you can find them at the Zipline booth. Are there any questions?
All right. Just quick with any communications, whether it's platform style, whatever, especially with younger people in the stores, how do you control so that the cadence isn't such that they just tune it out and you've got this excellent platform, but you're blasting so much stuff at them that it just becomes another alert on their phone or whatever that they just.
I think there's a lot of discipline that comes with lifting up a platform like this, especially from the corporate side. So like if my philosophy is being in service to the stores, we have to have a lot of discipline on our side. So we can't be putting in chaos, if I can, into the platform, because then it will just, you know, it goes unnoticed and it's just too much to go through. So I think on our side, it's like building that comm strategy and making sure that the rest of your peer group and your corporate teams that you work cross-functionally with, so our VM teams or anyone that's contributing to the platform, that they have the disciplines and are using this kind of publisher template or guide to like make sure that everything is streamlined and very clear and concise and having a consistent voice in what we put in there. I think that's really important, but also the ability for tracking metrics like readership and execution is really, really helpful to build behaviors, because we have a way to measure, are they engaging with it? And if they're not, where are they not? And where's the struggle? So again, going back to like soliciting that feedback, I think it's really important to use those metrics that are available to see like how well they're doing and how well they're engaging, and then make changes from there.
And I'll just add to, you know, with the transparency thing that I spoke about, that's one of the things that this platform has, is it gives us transparency into who read what and when. And that's really helpful because that helps guide us to a communications strategy. So our communications team looks at that and they say, okay, are our communications the right communications for this targeted group? And if not, what should they be and what should it look like? How long should our brand be about it? Should it be light and fluffy? Should it be really serious? And that if you take all of those things into account, the people that are reading those messages, then they go to those messages because they know what they're getting is valuable.
And I think on our end, it really is that discipline on the HQ side to say what, what is necessary. We have, what we would call like sort of our standard week template. So the stores kind of know roughly what they're expecting on which days. And it's only the sort of important things that maybe come midweek that we have to decide, is this something that truly needs to go out right now, or can it go in tomorrow's bundle to be added to the already existing messaging? So I think it's a little bit of discipline on our side as well. Also, we just sort of have a mantra out there. It's everyone just starts and ends their day in Zipline. You'll be fine. You'll be kept up to speed. You will know what's going on. But you do have to get the whole organization to say, we're not just going to send out that random email in the middle of the day. We're not just going to be publishing ad hoc communications. Everything has to have a purpose. I think that starts with the HQ side, managing it a little bit for them. I mean, I often will do a little bundle review for the next day to do a quick sense check. Like, are we overdoing it? Is there something that I could push to Friday instead of sending tomorrow? And I think, again, that's where having that digital side is really helpful versus having to think about the paper version or something where it's pretty easy for me to go, this actually isn't important for them to do tomorrow. It doesn't start till Monday next week. I'm going to give this as a Friday. We have a lot of random stuff that comes through, and it's like I'm like, this is some good news for Friday. Let's just send it then instead of sending it midweek. There's no reason. So it is a lot of discipline, I think, on our side, but the metrics are really helpful, and I think that the store teams want to do a good job because they know it shows their behavior, and they have visibility to their own metrics, which again speaks to the transparency. We're not trying to be Big Brother. We're just trying to say, hey, if you guys have low readership, it means that your routine is broken. Not your team, but your routine. So fix it. And we're really proud to be able to say it took us a few months. It took us probably about 6 months. I know we had readership at 40%. And now we're at readership at like 95, 99%, on-time readership in stores. So there's a little sense of pride, I think, on those managers as well. But yeah, you can't inundate. So you do have to have a strategy at the HQ side.
Retail teams are very competitive, so they don't want to be on the naughty list when it comes to the metrics. So we use that to our advantage a lot.
100%.
All right, we have time for maybe one more question. All the way in the back.
Run, Emily, run.
Hey, y'all. You mentioned the importance of delivering something that's meaningful to the field teams. Wondering your different approaches for engaging the field to co-create this with them, then partnering with Zipline or however you manifest this, if it's informally tapping into different regions and different stores to check in, or if you formalized an associate council to advise on the different features and functionalities you're bringing to these offerings for the field teams.
I've got a good one to start us off on. I like to say, if we do things with intention, the stores pay attention. So I think it's more than just putting out, translating what you would normally have sent like in an email and just sending it to them. So adding a little bit of color, adding a GIF here and there, using maybe an emoji, adding some more, images and whatnot. Make the comms engaging, and they will want to see it. Make it helpful for them. We do a lot of things like adding additional resources. So if you're a new manager, maybe you've been a manager forever, so that promo update message is no big deal to you. You know exactly what you're supposed to do. But if you're a new manager, we just sort of have all of that ready to go in that message for you, so that if you're brand new, maybe you need those additional resources to learn how to do those processes. So do it with intention. They will pay attention.
Yeah, I was going to mention the use of GIFs. I think it's super important to be engaging in comms and like have a personality, and it's okay to kind of be humorous and be light in certain instances. And I think use that when you can. Yeah, implement videos and just catchy, funny things. And like the GIFs are chef's kiss. We love a GIF.
Yeah, and I would say that feedback loop is incredibly important. We've had we do town halls. And we've done a town hall that's just geared towards the communication that we're sending out, surveys, surveying the field, but not just in communications, in any application. I think the real successful retailers, and we do this really well, is listen to our people and make sure that there's a way for them to bubble up issues, concerns, so that we can react.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for your insight. Thanks for your partnership. We appreciate it. Can I get a round of applause Thank you so much for joining us. If you guys have more questions, come by booth 5157. These guys will be around. And thank you so much for joining us on stage.